Welcome back to the association. We are live post-game as the Spurs even up the Western Conference Finals, 2 games apiece against the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder. The series shifts back to Oklahoma City for Game 5. I'm Lauren Rosen, bringing you everything you need to know post-game here on NBA TV. He's 10-year NBA veteran George Niang. And George, you and I both picked the Spurs tonight. What made you pick them, and then what went right away?
I just think with Game 4 with, everything that San Antonio's been through this year, listen, they're a 62-win team. They weren't just going to lay over and let, momentum carry in Oklahoma City's favor. And you look at how the game started, it seemed like Isaiah Hartenstein was the only answer that Oklahoma City had. And then every time, the Spurs would get a stop, it was leading to Wembanyama dunks or transition threes. And it was honestly a masterclass from the Spurs on the defensive end, right? Anytime you can get a team to shoot under 35% from the field, I like your chances of winning that game. And that's exactly what the Spurs did. They really locked in and dialed into their defense, and that's what won them this game.
Victor Wembanyama was dialed in. He was locked in on both ends of the floor. When this team is at its best, he is obviously also at his best. What was working for him so well? Wemby, you see the stats there at the bottom. 22 points in the first half alone. A pretty iconic first half buzzer beater. Finishes with 33 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. He was a plus 29 in 31 minutes of play. George, what did you see in those 31 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, look at that. You have your 7'4" center that protects the rim, defensive player of the year, making half-court three-pointers. You look at someone that's, people try and make fun of his quirks of that he goes and sees monks or, does different things. But he's ultimately one of the most locked-in players I've ever seen, right? The fact that he can do it from all different angles, his effort, his tenacity. Look how hard he's running the floor there, and he's not even getting the ball. When you can get your best player to do those things, everyone else falls in line. And then you see here his ability to, have people make tough shots at the rim. He's just a one-of-one character, and the Spurs are extremely lucky to have him. The Spurs are going to be a tough team to stop for years to come with this guy leading them.
And George, at this point in the series, of course, everyone played super heavy minutes in Game 1 that went to double overtime. The Spurs had to play heavy minutes in Games 2 and 3 as well. So to have the opportunity now, and of course, both teams saw their stars resting in the fourth quarter tonight, but to get some rest on these Spurs legs ahead of Game 5, as a player, what happens now? You're 4 games in, we're all tied up, it's best of 3 now. What do you do as you go back to the drawing board ahead of Game 5?
Yeah, I think, if you're Oklahoma City, you know that you went and got home court advantage back. So you're going back and being like, okay, now we're in a 3-game series. We have 2 of those games at home. Let's go out and take care of home court Game 5. And you're at a point where you're Oklahoma City. We're going to be coming guns blazing, coming out Game 5. And then San Antonio, you can't be happy with having a great, not only moral victory, but, limiting Oklahoma City to under 100 points. You can't be happy with that because now you have to work or play even harder in Oklahoma City to get a win on the road, because you have to steal one on the road to win this series.
We've talked about him already here tonight. He has been our top story, and now he's our association player of the game, Victor Wembanyama. Another look at his final stat line: 33 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, plus 29 in 31 minutes of play. George, you talked about his intangibles, the time he spends training with monks, reading, playing chess, working on his skills as a leader on and off the floor to arrive where he is now. And mind you, his first deep playoff run. How do you put into words what we're watching on a night-to-night basis, George?
Yeah, I mean, you're watching a guy that is going to be at the helm of this league, for a while. To be at his size and his skill set and the tenacity that he plays with, it's very rare. You're not going to find that. So we should enjoy what we're seeing here, because you're not going to find too many that are like this. And I think his professionalism kind of wears off on the rest of the team, because everybody's dialed in and kind of knows their role and where they need to be. And it's amazing because you're seeing the Thunder, who have succeeded with culture and role play, And now you have the San Antonio Spurs who are kind of falling in that same line and giving them everything that they can handle.
Wemby's teammates leaping into his arms, leaping to the rim. What do you make of the chemistry now that's developed? It's such a young group, and I think a lot of people, George, thought that maybe this was the year before the year for San Antonio. But could this be perhaps the year?
You know, it's making out to be. You know, after tonight, I would be, shocked if it isn't, right. You know, OKC is a great team, but the way the Spurs are playing and clicking on all cylinders right now after tonight's game, you just saw the energy and passion that they played with. Yes, it's one game, but you can definitely see the momentum kind of, change. Whenever you can hold the team under 100 points, you're going to make them go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out what they need to change to beat you. And the Spurs finally defended a full 4 quarters or 3.5, whichever the starters were allowed to play. And OKC is going to have their work cut out for them because they're going to need to score the ball and take and make better shots going into Game 5.
The San Antonio defense holding OKC to under 100, as you said, George, in a major way. Final score 103-82 as the series shifts back to Oklahoma City. And to be fair to the defending champions, they were without 2 of their top 4 scorers tonight in Game 4. We will talk more about Oklahoma City when we come back. We are just...
Again, anytime we can turn defense into offense, that's turnovers, that's rebounding, that's, whatever the aspect may be, that's when we're at our best. We can get out and run and play in space and momentum and share the ball. And we did that tonight, and the activity was great. And we're going to continue to need to get better at it as this series moves on.
Coach, your thoughts on the pace that you guys had offensively, and within that, the not being so much in a hurry that you talked about after Game 3, kind of letting things settle in and letting things happen naturally as well.
Yeah, it's a conflicting idea at times, but it's the balance that you got to try to strive for in terms of pace and tempo. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to take a quick shot or be in a rush, but when we get to play fast in terms of the ball moving from one end to the other end, then we get our best chance of playing against unorganized defenses and take advantage of mismatches, and our guys' individual talent gets to be at its best with that.
Coach, can you talk about the two-way impact of Devin Vassell tonight and his growth from a role where he was more of a scorer before Victor Wembanyama, Stephen Castle, and the guys came around, to today, like a more complete role in the team?
He's been phenomenal. He may be our most consistent player if you took away any stats and just watched us play. Just his floor and ceiling may be the least margin. And it's just been, personally for me, really fun to observe him, because when we first drafted him, he was kind of a, not to be lazy, but a 3-and-D generalization is kind of the bucket he was in. And he's developed into a heck of a scorer in this league. And at times when you're a young player, it's hard to increase your offensive load and still continue to put that same energy into the defense. And I think he probably went away from it a little bit. And now to see him have the two-way impact that you speak of is very impactful for our team and very rewarding for somebody that's been with him since his rookie year.
Mitch, on your right, when Victor was sitting there after last game, he said that we're going to find out what we're made of in Game 4. And then tonight, he just showed a level of persistence he hadn't quite shown before, and he took so many shots, obviously, in the first half, but he never stopped coming and never stopped trying to kind of grind the game away. Just what did you see out of him with the motor that he played with tonight?
Yeah, I saw a lot, and I'm not surprised. I think our competitive response all year has been pretty good, and he's been at the forefront of that more than not. And I think tonight he felt, not speaking for him, but from my perspective, an obligation to set a tone for us in a variety of ways. And I think, to your point of just the aggressiveness, was a reflection of that.
Have so many people responsible for how your offense in particular runs, but is part of Victor becoming one of those great players to feel that obligation? It's his responsibility to set that tone.
I think a lot of people would say that, and regardless of that, I think that's what he wants. I think he wants that responsibility and to be in the lead there. And He's built for it.
Coach.
Double from De'Aaron on a night, a double from De'Aaron on a night when he's still kind of grinding through that injury. How impressive is it to see him continue to just soldier on through that?
Yeah, he's been ridiculous all playoffs. I mean, it's the things that he's had to play through and what he's given us, and 10 rebounds from him, 11 assists from he and Steph combined with 1 turnover. Again, just numbers, but they do reflect some substantial production that we need from those guys and clean basketball.
Coach, I asked the guys before the game how did they prepare for this one, and they said they didn't change anything, that they didn't need to overreact after the loss in the third game. What does that say about them, like the maturity they have, even though they are pretty young?
It says a lot. I think when you get into these series, we spoke pregame about the chess match, and you can get into a little bit of a whirlwind in terms of, do I adjust and counter, or do I just want to do it better? And both answers are right when you talk about them in a meeting room. And those guys have done a great job of executing a little bit of both. And I thought tonight was probably their best performance, maybe of the year, because of the circumstances of just being better at a lot of things.
Mitch, over to your right. I know as a team you guys have one common goal, you're one unit, but how have you seen the guys lean into the experience of Harrison Barnes as you continue to go further into this playoff round?
No, I'm glad you brought him up because we needed every minute of him, and I know this is probably the least amount of minutes he's played in a long time, and maybe ever as a pro. And he was 0 for 4 from the field tonight, but boy, did we feel his impact. We needed his minutes, and his performance was huge.
Oh, no.
George, as Coach Johnson was talking, you and I were discussing Devin Vassell's impact on this San Antonio team's success. So when he is at his best, what is he able to do for this team on both sides of the floor?
Yeah, I think you heard Mitch Johnson bring it up where he was kind of put in that box of 3 and D, and he's done so much more. His ability to create, facilitate, run off pin downs, guarding the other team's best player, play in transition. He just does so many intangible things that help you win that they're almost immeasurable, right? Victor Wembanyama is who he is. De'Aaron Fox is who he is. But it's those intangible guys that tie it all together where you can say, hey, Devin Vassell, X this guy out of the game on the defensive end. But, hey, also sprint and transition and make threes and be effective for us. And he does that. And when he's doing that, this Spurs team is a really dangerous team.
Well, one thing we know about Victor Wembanyama, of course, on the Spurs side and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the Thunder side, is they credit those teammates for making them as great as they are every chance that they get. And that greatness is rewarded formally tonight with all NBA honors as we take a look at the first team all NBA as announced prior to tip-off tonight. You see two faces that you just watched for a couple hours out there going toe-to-toe. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP. Victor Wembanyama, MVP finalist. Plus, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Cade Cunningham. George, your reaction to this year's all NBA first team?
Yeah, I mean, all these guys are extremely deserving, right? And, you add that 65-game rule in there. And the fact that these guys can play those amounts of games. I know Luka and Cade got an exception, but they had phenomenal years. And then you look at Shai and Victor, two guys in the West, which is